I painstakingly composed a Daz scene to look really cute. I put the beautiful also 3D fox based on the Daz dog. I have this cute little Pluffet character. I have a great snowman character. And then I use some of the Flinks resources from Renderosity in addition to the Daz resources. I put them all together. I thought they looked really cute. And then when I rendered it, it just looks flat. It looks not exciting. And the fox, which I love, is his coat is kind of fighting with the other colors. There's at least 3 different versions of red in this render, which kind of makes it seem like it's the reds are fighting for dominance in the picture. And on top of it, the snow, yeah, it looks like cartoon snow. That's great. But it looks so cold. And for my Christmas greeting that I sent to people, I wanted it to look simultaneously snowy and warm and inviting. And that was a trick that I wasn't sure I could pull off. So let's figure out how I went from this render to a more vibrant render to an actual unified render with unified colors. Step 1, I have to figure out the color palette before I can do anything, to know what direction to go with the texturing. And I'm not an artist, you can tell, right? Like, I'm a teacher, I'm not an artist. So I recognize my limitations, and I've decided to rely on existing artists and what they can do. So I have a couple of different images here that I'm gonna kind of try to find the colors in. I have this beautiful render in Siberia that Bing Images delivered to me, and you'll see the artist name down here. And it's just a beautiful image. As you can see, it's reaching that simultaneous feel of snowy, cold. It's Siberia, of course it's cold, but warm because of the sun effect. So I started with that image, and then I had another image that was a completely hand-drawn image that I got from Adobe Stock. Again, I'll put the artist down here so you can see it. You'll see that this does a great job of feeling warm and Christmassy and holiday-ish. So I started with these colors. I want to start with these colors, and I'm going to I need a way to kind of identify the colors while still, respecting the color theory. And again, I'm not an artist. I don't know anything about color theory. I just know it exists, which I guess is enough. So for this particular project, I used the COOLORS website. You could use, Adobe has one if you have the Adobe suite. I'm sure there's many others. Those are just the ones I know. Started with an image. And I kind of spun together different palettes to see what I could come up with. So you basically upload the image to the website, kind of pull some of the colors using the magnifying glass, kind of pull some colors, spin some colors up. There's different options for spinning colors up in the Cooler. And I just kept spinning until I had this nice color palette. You can change the how the colors are pulled together. You can also change that, and you can keep spinning it by pushing the space bar until you find a palette you like. If you find some palettes along the way you like, you can just go ahead and save it, and so you can get back to it if you were creating an account. All right, so I've got a couple color palettes that I really like, and then I make my final decision on which one I'm going to go with for this project. This is the first time I've worked backwards from the colors, but I feel like it really enhanced the final image. And I think in future projects, I will also go this direction. All right, step 2. Step 2 is altering the original textures. So I've got the lovely fox. He's got 2 sets of textures. Find the original texture and then push it towards our target palette. So let's go ahead and take a look here. If you notice, I've got my fox fur coat, and I can see they're using the same map all the way through for most of the channels: hair root, hair tip color, etc. So it's all the same map. So I hover over it, I see the path there, right there to it. It's easy though, I don't have to remember the path. All I have to do is click on it, click browse, and here's the path right there. So I can see that I have the texture right there. I just simply copy the path and then cancel, and now I have the path to the texture that I can open up in Photoshop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into either Photoshop or Affinity Photo, whichever you have. Affinity Photo is a great option because it was pretty cheap to buy. And I go in and I'm just going to go ahead and do an overlay of that color. Now, since I really don't, it doesn't really matter what the whole texture looks like because I'm only going to plug this texture into the skin. I'm not going to plug it into the other parts of the animal. So I can go ahead and just cover this texture with my kind of, I don't know what, carnation-y color. My color that's kind of between a yellow, between a red, between a pink that I chose from the COOLORS app. And so I will overlay that color, choose a blend mode, just experiment with blend modes until you get what you like. Do the same thing with the fur. And now I've got different textures where I'm going off the back of the real artist, also 3D with his texturing of the fox, but I'm just tinting it so that it is heading towards my target color. Now, I also have an HDR from, I believe it's flip mode from Easy Environments. I'll put all the links in the video below for the assets. And what I'm going to do with this, again, I'm just going to try to push the HDR towards my target blue color that I created from the original COOLOR palette that I created. And so I'm trying to push the HDR in that direction. And this is honestly where it's better to go with Affinity Photo on this, because Affinity Photo has a whole 3D editing process. It doesn't degrade. Whereas the minute you start editing things in Photoshop, you have to pull it down to 16-bit. So for this is actually what made me buy Affinity Photo, because I could edit these HDRs with ease. Go ahead and then you can I export it back out so that it's still in HDRI format or XER format to be able to load it back into Daz Studio. Okay, now I have my textures. I'm going to move on to step 3, which is I'm going to tweak all the shaders for not for the whole image because who has that kind of time, but for my most largest sections of the image. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the textures from the fox into the skin, into the fur, and I'm going to kind of go in and make sure and tweak all the settings to make sure, because if you look at the way the color of the fox, it's so well done, it's so well crafted. The fur doesn't render until you do the actual final render. That's okay. You can look at it the skin, because the skin is the same as the fur. You can play with both of them in the preview and then render just to check it. So go ahead and the fox is the center point. So I would start with the fox and kind of work, or whatever your center point is. Then I'm going to load in the new HDR and I'm going to adjust the lighting to kind of, especially how it kind of plays off the fur of the fox. And then I've got a whole bunch of just other textures, like on the words, I've loaded in textures. This is from the, I think it's Say It Out Loud package. Again, I'll put the link from Twisted Metal from Renderosity. Comes with some nice shaders. And the shaders are a good starting point. Like they have some glass shader or gel shaders that look really nice for Christmas, but they aren't exactly my target color. So again, I load in a color that's close to my target color, and then I go in and edit my Daz shader to be specifically that target color. I'll show you I'll screenshot the different properties here so you can see it. One shortcut is that I can save my target colors, my blue and my carnation-y color, into the Daz palette, and then I can get back to them so I'm not constantly typing in the hex code. I only have to type in the hex code once. Although I didn't retexture anything for the snowman, I'm going to go into the shader and tweak the color of his scarf and of his hat. What's really nice about this particular snowman, which is from the snow day at Daz Studio, is that it's all handled with the base colors. So all I have to do is go in and edit the base color. So he'd be great even if you're going to a completely different color. Like if I wanted to turn his scarf blue, I could turn it blue very easily in this particular one. That's not always the case. Sometimes the whole thing is just one big image map, and that makes it hard to deal with because then you have to go back and edit the image map. All right, so now we've retextured and tweaked the shaders. We've got the shaders all lined up. Going to do a test render. And what I'm seeing is, yeah, I like the way the colors go together. I've got the lighting, and I'm looking at it and I love the colors. I love the way the colors go with each other. So at this stage, I'm just making sure that the colors are unified and are matching each other. Now, the one last piece of magic that will help me avoid any kind of post work, because I've already spent a lot of time, don't have time to go back into Photoshop. So I avoid post work is I'm going to go ahead into and adjust the saturation to kind of bump it up a little bit, because this is a Christmas card and it's kind of cartoony. I can go crazy and bump the saturation up to 1.25 or even 1.5 if I'm feeling punchy. I have got my lovely Christmas card. Let's review now what the steps that we did and why we did them. Step number 1, we defined the color palette by using a color palette tool. Then we went into the original textures. Any of the textures were complex, and we pushed them towards our target colors. Step 3, we tweaked our shaders to make sure that they, just the base shaders were following pushing those to the target colors. And then finally we adjusted the saturation, and we ended up with something that, I'll be honest with you, the people that I sent it to were very pleased with. This is my first Daz Studio tutorial. I'm a regular teacher for regular people and regular school type stuff. I'm not a YouTuber. And what I would say is this is my first effort. Again, I just wanted to share this because I was so happy with the results.